Jen, in what ways did CEPA's virtual solution complement your course? And how can this solution enhance in-person and online courses?
I'll start by saying I think that this is an extremely unique opportunity for students and faculty alike. I think we've all developed from this opportunity to really kind of branch out and be innovative and think about when travel, of course, was not possible, what could we do instead to really complement that academic experience for students. And this was a great way to add that global perspective in for students, of course, without having to get on a plane and actually bring them over to Europe. So I think we brought Europe to them, and they were able to engage with lots of different topics, very relevant topics. We talked a lot about migration. We talked about the COVID crisis, of course. So I think it was just, in this time that we find ourselves in, I think it was an incredibly unique opportunity to be able to engage with the world from Arlington, Virginia, but still have those really crucial conversations about opening your perspective to the world. And, we're very inundated here in the U.S. with obviously what's going on here with the pandemic. So it was really interesting, I think, for students to hear that other perspective in relation to the pandemic, migration. We talked a lot about social responsibility. So overall, I think in terms of the learning, it was incredibly complementary to have these global lectures in addition to the coursework that the students were already completing. So I can't thank CEPA Foundation enough for, again, being innovative and putting these lectures together for our students.
So as a professor yourself, what were the key factors that really encouraged you to include this virtual study abroad program in your course?
So I think for me, again, during when COVID presented itself as this challenge that we all inevitably had to deal with, I really wanted to think outside the box in terms of how to expose students to different perspectives, global issues. Obviously, we couldn't get on a plane and go, so this partnership with CEPA really just evolved very organically, and it was great. We came up with some thematic areas that I kind of wanted to touch on. I definitely wanted to touch on some of the relevant topics to keep the students engaged and really wanting to learn more. And as we just heard from Julie, in many of our students, it really sparked an interest. So for me, it was about just thinking outside the box, being creative. And obviously, I myself might be able to lecture on some of these topics, but I think it means so much more coming from the experts directly, from Europe. It's a change of face for the students. They don't want to hear from me 24/7. So it was a really nice way to bring in other voices, other perspectives, and really kind of just broaden students' horizons and really pique their interest. And I think it was very successful in doing that.
And what would be your advice that you would have for faculty, for other faculty and professors?
I think my biggest advice to both faculty and students alike during this time would be to be flexible and adaptable. I think, obviously you go into your course with some broad ideas of what you want to accomplish and what you want the students to take away from it. But I think it's also important to, understand that those themes will evolve and take a shape of their own. And as you engage with the students, of course, you that's almost what you want. You want them to kind of pick the pieces that are interesting to them and carry on that conversation in a way that's meaningful and impactful. So I think just maintaining some level of, letting the course run its course, if that makes sense, but really being continually adapting the conversation. And at least for my course, it was very much set in the present day and kind of being aware of what's going on around us at this very moment. So yeah, flexibility, adaptability, all things that we should be familiar with in our field, especially during this very unique time.
And related to the virtual component, would you encourage faculty to go for the virtual study abroad program, whether it's part of an entire online course or even an in-person program?
Sure, yeah. I think that one of the benefits, of course, as we're kind of, the field is making this pivot toward virtual, I think one of the benefits of virtual is the access component, right? We talk a lot about access in education abroad and which students have access to some study abroad experiences. And when we think about expanding that access to students who may not traditionally choose to study abroad, this is an excellent way to introduce students to global issues and to internationalize your curriculum without having to create some of those barriers that, obviously we have students who may not be able to study abroad for various reasons, maybe financial, maybe they're dreamer students. So this virtual component really, in my opinion, expands access. It gives students that little taste of global. And in many cases, my class, I was working with freshmen. So in many cases, this may encourage them to think about study abroad in the future. So it's really kind of creating a pathway, I think, as well.
How has this virtual study abroad program, you think, impacted the evolution of your students' learning experience? And did you notice how their engagement in the virtual program complement your course, or just anything that you noticed related to their engagement in the virtual program?
Sure. So in terms of the evolution of their learning, so we introduced these virtual lectures, I believe in week 3. When they first got to me, they're first year students, they're still kind of deer in the headlights, adapting to college and things like this. But I did notice a change in week 3 once we started to introduce these modules. There was a level of engagement, I think, that wasn't there before. There was a level of sort of that spark of interest that you see. Of course, we weren't face to face, so you couldn't always see it, but I could feel it. And so I think it definitely started to pique their curiosity, which is always what we want to do with our students, right? We don't want to give them all the answers. We actually want to encourage and inspire questions. And I think that's what these lectures really did. This was a freshman seminar. It was designed in a way to, kind of make students more curious and to make them want to pursue these issues moving forward in their academic careers. So as we heard from Julie earlier, the lecture on migration encouraged her to write a paper on migration in one of her other courses. So I think I've definitely, in terms of sort of an informal evaluation of before and after, I've really noticed a change in just overall having the students ask questions, which I think is really what my whole goal with the course was. So overall, again, it was very successful, and I would highly recommend this option for other faculty as well. I just want to commend CEPA Foundation and their team. You were incredibly easy to work with, which for faculty is quite nice. I know many faculty are busy, and to have you as partners, it just made the process so much easier. You had, your weekly check-ins with the students were so helpful. And I hope that the students are encouraged, again, that this kind of becomes a pathway and that they look at CEPA Foundation as an organization that they want to continue to engage with in the future and potentially study abroad with. So I can't thank you enough. It was a wonderful program, and it certainly won't be the last that we do with CEPA. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I actually have a question that just came to my mind. How did the virtual program influence you or impact you, or what difference did it make in you personally and professionally, of course?
Yes, no, I think that's a wonderful question, and I don't think that that we should, undermine that impact, because I think faculty, of course, are just like students, are continually growing and learning, especially for myself as a fairly young faculty member. So it's really been an opportunity for professional growth. Again, sort of having to reinvent things in the age of COVID, moving a course from completely in person to completely online, and just rethinking how to incorporate global learning into a course that's virtual. I think it's just really opened my mind to, again, we think in very traditional ways a lot about how to internationalize things. And this was very non-traditional, very unfamiliar to our field. So I'm really hoping that faculty are encouraged to continue to pursue these options. And just on a personal level, I mean, I found a lot of the lectures very interesting myself. I learned a lot. Again, of course, I could have, potentially done my own research and delivered some of these lectures, but it was great to hear directly from the European experts. And I have to say, I learned a lot myself as well. So yes, this is a great opportunity for students, but we definitely can't overlook the impact and the development opportunities for faculty as well.
Thank you again. It was lovely to work with you and your group. And on behalf of CEPA Foundation, we thank you for your trust and for your partnership to you and your students. And we look forward to collaborating in the near future again for other study abroad programs, whether they're virtual or also in person.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much.